Lewis and Clark College, and my work has kind of become a product of my growing up in an urban environment and watching how my surroundings change and transform. This piece in particular was very influenced by just this mass production of condominiums across the country, and then also last summer when the 35W bridge collapsed in Minneapolis. I'm from Minneapolis. I think that was really crazy for me because that's a really widely used bridge. So I, without even really knowing it at the time, was trying to, like with this piece, kind of capture this, like the vulnerability of new and old structures. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about this. It's like taking on many different meanings and explanations throughout the year. But yeah, are there any questions? So I was using an X-Acto knife, and so to make a lot of these, like if I was using cardboard with X-Acto, you have to go over it like 3 times for each square. Plastic, I'd have to get like a laser one or something. So that's, I actually, these came out of like reject pieces that I was like, what do I do with these? And so I just started like cutting them, and it was totally an accident. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I just did it.
It's good to just totally rip off the wall.
Yeah, and that's what I also really like about these pieces is that they kind of offer so many possibilities. Like they could be an aerial view. Like to me, I think of them as like these sort of ghosts of like what was there and what will grow out of it. Well, these are attached with like a double stick tape. It's actually meant for windows. It's less sticky. It's easier to get off the wall. And then these are nails. Nailed it. And they just kind of hang.
Did you mention the shape? Behind the gray shape?
Oh, this is actually, I always forget about this part. This is the Portland growth boundary. But I don't mention that anywhere because I don't want it to just be Portland.
And I'm from Marylhurst University. This is part of my thesis project that I just finished up in painting. And I've been working for the past couple of years with the idea of unnecessary suffering that happens in the world, of suffering that happens to us as people that doesn't need to happen. I mean, there's enough suffering with getting born and getting old and getting sick and dying without that we kind of impose on each other because of power relationships. My process that I kind of developed over time was to sit with an idea, literally to kind of sit and contemplate a particular social ill, a particular form of suffering, where there was somebody who was in a position of dominance and a person who was in a subordinate position, and then kind of let that play out on the canvas without really much of an idea of where it was going. So I did a painting about torture, I did a painting about war, I did a painting about domestic violence, and this is one of my paintings about child sexual abuse. Generally, I start out without any image-based ideas. The first kind of go at the canvas for me is really very, very much expressionistic, much more about my feelings about accountability, my feelings about survivorship. And then from there, kind of as I kind of start to pull in more kind of cognitive thoughts, and the images come in with that, about this looks like something here and it relates to this that way. And so it kind of starts to kind of come together that way.
This oil or acrylic?
It's acrylic and charcoal. I work on unstretched canvas. I started working on unstretched canvas last year because I was part of this group in town that has weekly music and art happenings at different public parks. And so I was working on unstretched canvas because you could roll it up, stick it on your bike, pull it out, and set it up in a park. And then I just really grew to really like working on it. Somebody mentioned Leon Golub to me, and I started checking out his work. And there's something about the unstretched canvas, the way it kind of flows and moves, and there's almost like a skin-like feeling to me of the canvas itself that I thought was particularly appropriate to the subject matter that I was dealing with.
This is nothing like my other work, nothing at all. My thesis piece was a
10 by 8 by 8 foot video installation. I have easily would have taken up like the back half of this gallery, so I decided not to be greedy. I mainly work in video installation and photography. Originally I worked in painting, so this is probably more like my older work, but it was done within the last year. Particularly it was for, started in a painting class where we were looking at Picasso's early collages and his use of faux materials like faux cane, chairing, and that kind of thing. And I was really inspired by that kind of idea, the faux idea. So that is dollar store laminate tile that I picked up. It was 3 to a pack, and I fell in love with this stuff. And would put it on, sticky stuff, and I'd have to rip it off. So it became kind of, it's actually 2 separate panels that I worked on separately, and a professor suggested that I piece them together as one. And the paper is actually wallpaper that I've cut up and kind of recollaged. And then my painting professor at the time said to me, "It looks like you dredged something up out of grandma's basement." And I kind of ran with that idea. I don't know why, it just the way he put it, it struck something with me. And I also spent 6 months abroad in London, and I really fell in love with the kind of Victorian imagery that I saw there. And so that's where a lot of like the silhouettes come from. They're drawn silhouettes that I painted, well, drawn and then painted and then photocopied over and over and over again. So that's where the majority of it comes from.
Is there an attachment from like elephants to the figures that are talking to one another? Or?
I was actually really looking for just, that's why I did the silhouette rather than like a very explicitly drawn image, is like I liked the space, the negative space that the figures started to create when you would move them and orient them in different directions. And that's why I started like cutting off. And then there's little elements that are like translated from the wallpaper onto these kind of lines that would continue onto the laminate. So this is very different for me. This is my first real exploration in mixed media.